Hi there, and welcome back to my project life process for my camping trip pages. This is part 4 of a 4-part series, so I am going to link to video 1 here. If you didn't see the previous videos, check that out, and then each video will link to the others, and I'll probably put a playlist or a bunch of links somewhere for you to find out, so check the information section. This is the page that we made in the last video, and I am going to spend the next half hour or so going over some of these cards, doing some last minute changes. So here's the filler card, this one that says love and has a bit of a grid on it. If you watched the previous videos, you know that I wasn't too happy with that one. So especially where it lands on the front page, on the first page of this spread, which is a total of 4 pages, like 4 single pages plus an insert. I wanted to replace that with a different filler card. And so I have this word home, which is a stamp from one of the Kelly Purkey Project Life kits that I received earlier this year and haven't used yet. And so I want to make the phrase home is where you park it, which is a common hashtag in the pop-up camper and camping and RV Instagram community. And I thought that that would make a really nice filler card as opposed to that one that says we love camping. This one is just a little bit trendier and more engaging than that one that you can barely read. So I am spelling out is where you in these gray Kelly Purkey letter stickers. And then I am doing this move that I've done before, which is I'm taking a second clear ruler and I'm putting my second row of writing right underneath of it so that I can line these up without committing to either row of the writing. And I'm putting park in a different font because I want it to stand out, because it's kind of like the unexpected part of it. You expect it to say home is where the heart is, but it's saying home is where you park it. And so now I can line up both of those rulers and move freely the park it and the is where you and put it wherever I need it. And the nice thing about it is that the thicker alignment tool has that really nice grid on it. See the little grid marks? And the other marker that I have just has lines. It doesn't have a grid. And so I like layering the two, and I can use the grid below because the bottom layer, the bottom ruler is also see-through. The bottom ruler, by the way, is a centering ruler and a journaling ruler that I've had in my stash since the days when I very first started scrapbooking. It might be one of the very first supplies I got on my very first trip to Michael's to get scrapbooking supplies. And so now I'm going to line up the park it phrase. And then as you can see, I'm using the grid markings on my workspace. And I'm just making sure that my card is lined up with the grid. And then I can line up this ruler with those lines on the gray grid mat and make sure that everything is lined up and straight. I don't usually care about things being lined up and straight, but when you want, like the word home is very straight, so I want these other letters to be straight as well. I am outlining around the word park because it is so much lighter than the other letters on this card. I want it to stand out. So I'm using my .005 pen. It's actually a Prismacolor pen, and it's my smallest pen that I have, like the narrowest nib that I have. And now I'm going to use my Misty tool, stamp positioner, to stamp out the word home. And I'm going to emboss it. But did I use my powder buddy? I don't think I did. I shoulda, but I didn't. I keep forgetting to use it every time. I remember it when I'm card making, and I consistently forget when I'm scrapbooking. Anyhow, don't mind my bright blue sleeves. Those are my pajamas. It is very early in the morning when I'm filming this. I think it's 5, something like that. Very, very early. I have a very fine, soft paintbrush that I keep with my embossing supplies. And all that I'm doing here is I'm actually just nudging any stray pieces. I just nudge it with the paintbrush and then I blow. And so the nudging dislodges it from the card, and then my breath just removes it from the card. That way, I find if I try to whisk it off of the card, I run a much greater chance of messing up and accidentally touching something that I didn't mean to touch. Now, I didn't have my reading glasses on when I did that, and I actually didn't fully emboss all of that sentiment. And so I'm going to start coloring, and then I'm going to realize that as I color, I'm moving the embossing powder around. So I'm going to stop and re-emboss in a minute. Before I started, so I was going to use a Cabana Stampin' Up pen, and then I was going to use this Pool Party. And before I started, I remembered that I don't like coloring with these markers, and I have markers that are wonderful for coloring with. They are these Copic markers that blend beautifully. And so there I realized that that H wasn't fully embossed yet. I grabbed my glasses and checked it, and yes, the rest of it was embossed. It's just the H that wasn't. So the problem when I found whenever I use those Stampin' Write markers for coloring is that you can see where you overlap, unless if you color absolutely perfectly the first time and don't overlap anything, it really looks messy and it gets that like real colored in look instead of looking nice and blended. And so these Copic markers blend much better, even on this paper, which is not meant for Copic coloring. It's still, they blend quite nicely. And I can go over and over, and you're not going to see that I went over that multiple times. And so I really like that. It wasn't looking quite different enough from the background. I used a very, very light color. It was BG11. And so now I'm just going over parts of it with BG13, which is just slightly darker. And I'm just keeping it all over to the left side of the letters, just, I don't know, to give it a tiny bit of dimension. It doesn't really have that much dimension, but anyhow, just playing around. And then blending it out with the BG11 after I'm done that. I love using my card making supplies for scrappy projects. I really, really love when my supplies can do double duty or triple duty. Now I'm going to mark some lines down here because beneath home is where you park it. I'm going to treat this as my title page on the first page of these 4 pages of spread. And so I have made these 2 lines. I'm going to put the campground and the date. First, I have to look up the exact location. I knew the name of the campground, but I couldn't remember the exact town that it's in. It's called Annapolis. I thought it was in Annapolis Royal. Maybe those are the same thing. I don't know. I have to draw a second line because the place ended up taking up 2 lines because I wanted to put Annapolis, Nova Scotia. So there we go. Dunroman Campground, Annapolis, Nova Scotia, and then September 1st to 3rd, 2018. And that will take the place of that other filler card that I just didn't like so much. So, I always say that it's important to not be too perfectionistic, especially with Project Life, because there's so much going on that you're not going to notice if there's a card that's not quite as nice as the others. But this card was really annoying me because it was on the front page. It's one of the first things you see when you come upon this spread. And so I wanted to replace it. I do like that little card. It just wasn't right for that page. So now I do have another card that I need to make for this page, especially this one is going to go on the insert that I created at the end of the last video, which was video number 3. Basically, I have been collecting this on this yellow envelope. I have been collecting a list of all of the things that we did, some of which show up on these pages and some of which do not. And so here's my list, and I'm just looking through it, and there are 13 lines on this, and I have 13 items, but I'm actually not going to put all of them on here. So I'll read you what I'm putting here. I've got stargazing, Yardsea, Sushi Go, which we don't have a picture of, so I'm glad I put that on the list. Sophie's Magical Fire, and I put Sophie there because she's the one who initiated the buying of the magical fire sprinkles that make your fire turn green and blue and purple. Wi-Fiing at the bathroom. Campfire in a Box, UCP, which is Upper Clements Park. Breakfast at the Stone Horse Cafe. And then I wrote beside it, because we couldn't use our propane or our stove. And I wanted to include that because I didn't take any photos of it and I didn't write about it. So I just wanted that memory in there. Camper Envy, which is we would take walks around the park and look at all the fancy campers and all the gear everybody had and get ideas about what we should buy next year when we have a full season ahead of us. Scott's 6K run and quarters for the shower. Those are the things that I put on that card. And that just allows me to not only summarize some of the things that I've already scrapbooked, but also add in there any little tiny extra memories that I didn't want to forget. Now here's the card that I was the least happy with of all the cards in this spread. This caution and photo of my daughter and Scott peeping their noses above the sign on the pool. They were in the fence around the pool. And so I also have these 2 scraps of trees. As you can see, I cut a 3x4 card out of that faux cardstock, which is, it's brown sugar from Stampin' Up. I wish I had craft cardstock for this project, but anyhow, I'm happy with what I've got. So as you can see, I'm just grabbing one of the 2 little bits of trees and trimming it down so that it looks cute. It looks like a cute little hill of trees there. I thought that looked pretty cute as a little element to decorate this card with. Now I'm going to use washi tape to form a little frame behind my photo. And the photo had been stapled onto the other card, so I just loosened the backs of the staples and pulled it out very carefully without ripping the photo. I could just reprint it if I needed to, but I didn't want to. So I'm just going to put these 3 pieces of washi tape so that they form a little frame behind my photo, and then I'm restapling the photo. It looks like it's stapled twice, but that's okay. And then I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive down there so that it stays in place. And I really like how that looks. It looks much better than the first one. It's still like not too much, like it's pretty plain, but I really like that cute little stand of trees at the bottom of it. Now I have the second stand of trees that I want to use, and I'd like to put it on this card. It's a really nice monochromatic card with lots of green in the background of the photo, and then the card itself is green. And so this adding these green trees I think is going to look really good. I'm gluing the trees as they are, which is a little bit of a downhill slope on the trees, and it's not really working because you're getting these little bits. First of all, the trees are a little weirdly angled. It looks like they're not supposed to be that way. If I pull it up, then you can see these little bits of the mint green paper. So what I decided to do was to tear off the mint green paper altogether, and I'm putting a notch in this line of trees, which allows me to bend it to make it straight. And paper, that's the beautiful thing about paper, is that it has these fibers and you can actually manipulate them sometimes. You can get away with pulling on paper and it doesn't tear. And in this case, it worked. It might not have always worked, but it worked this time. And so I was really pleased with that. So I thought about adding more things like enamel dots or little pieces of something or stickers, but I decided to just leave this one as it is. I like it. I like it how it is. So I'm going to show you each of the cards. This is how they ended up looking. So this is way back from video number 1. And as you can see, many of these cards are just, all that I've added is either some journaling or a photo. Sometimes stamps and letter stickers, sometimes label stickers, but this whole spread, all 4 pages and the insert, is very, very plain. That's one of the things that I love about having designer cards. So these are all Kelly Purkey cards, and they're beautiful just freestanding as they are. So you really don't have to do very much with these to make them look beautiful in your book. Then there's this one. This is one of my favorite cards in the whole bunch. And then my photo here, I didn't do anything to the photo. Sometimes I'll put labels or stickers or stamps on my photos, and there is a dark spot there that I could have put a sticker on, but I just wanted to leave it. And now here's the second page, I think. You'll see at the very end, I might have moved these pages around a little bit and the cards around a little bit, but I do show it in my book, like the final arrangement. Here's that helping hands one. I love that journaling along the edges of the arms. And here's where I first used that little trim of the trees, and that's a Lawn Fawn die set that I have. This Campground Chic card is one of my favorites. I really love those cute little tents that I stamped on either side of the word chic. And then this is a very plain card, just slapped on a photo and did a little bit of captioning on it. And here's a card that you guys saw me make just a few minutes ago. It turned out cute. Certainly better than the one that was there before. I like it. It looks so funny, popping out their heads over the top of the fence. And now we did play a game called Yahtzee, which we borrowed from the campground. And it's basically giant Yahtzee. I loved it. It was so much fun. And it's actually a bit of a workout because there's a lot of like you keep bending and picking things up, and the dice are actually heavy, so I wouldn't say it's exercise, but it's close. It's better than sitting at the table playing Yahtzee anyways. Here's that awesome Yum card with the pig on it. I love that card. Oh, I'm hungry for bacon now. Yummy campfire bacon, which is even smokier than bacon is anyways. I mean, bacon is already smoked. And then here is that journaling dominant card that has a big long story about the fire department and the alarm and all of that. And that arrow just does a good job of pointing out that journaling goes with this card, because otherwise it's kind of like, what? Why is there like a fire department card here? And then this idea of, is it cheating? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then there's Liv at the Wi-Fi, taking her time on every single bathroom trip, and Scott being the silly goof that he is, always posing for photos. And here's that card that I made with the stamp from Lawn Fawn. Love those birch trees. Really love them. And we're going to be camping next year, and I'm going to be pulling out some of these supplies again and maybe taking a different spin on them. That's the great thing about these supplies, is you just kind of stamp that in a different way and it looks totally different. And then there's my social media. Of course, there she is all by herself with all of her friends in her phone. And this big, huge field of frisbee golf that she's ignoring. So these are going to go in here, is what I'm saying there. And so it'll be a double-sided insert with one 4x6 and then two 3x4s below it. And I just cut that out of a Becky Higgins Design A page protector. There is a page protector, I think it's called Design H, that is basically half of a page of a Design A, and that's what I was looking for. I just wanted to take that and then just cut off the bottom 4x6, but it turned out that I didn't have any. Well, I have one, and I don't want to forget that exists, so I don't want to use it. I'm going to order some more of those Design H. I hope you can still get them. So they're the last ones that I made. And so simple, just adding a little bit of marker border around the outside edge of that is a really great hack for not needing to use a mat. And then there's my list that I made at the very, very end. And so those are the cards up close. Oops, wait a second, there's even more, because that was my insert, and now this is another page. And I do think I ordered these pages differently, so make sure that you check out at the very end. I do a flip through of these pages inside of my book as well. I think I'm changing the order right now as I'm kind of showing them. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I don't want to end with Upper Clements Park, because Upper Clements Park happened in the middle of our trip. I don't have everything in chronological order, but I don't want to make it look like we went to Upper Clements Park on our way home or something weird like that. So here's the card I made using Lawn Fawn stamps and some stencils for the background. It doesn't look too bad. The photos and embellishments cover up most of the yuckiest parts of the background. And then there's my little joke about the number of kids who would go on the roller coaster with us. And there's our title that represents a little bit of an in-joke of the park not being in the best shape ever. And these Cards are pretty simple, and that's one of the benefits of having beautiful cards to work with, is you really don't have to do too much. And it allowed me to do 4 whole pages that covered, I think, 40 photos or almost 40 photos in just basically one day. I mean, this is the very early hours of the second day, but I had 7 hours of video footage here. So that's basically a day of scrapbooking. It did span 2 days, but I don't think that's too bad for a detailed project life spread like this. Now, this card does look a little plain. I feel like it could use a little something something, but I don't know what that something something might be, so we're just going to leave it what it is. Now we're back to fast forward here because I just wanted to show you what I'm doing to address the gap in my Project Life album. So these pages, which are from September of 2018, come right after pages from October of 2017. And so there is a very big gap between the page before the first of these pages and these pages. So I just wanted to do something to address that. So I grabbed some Scraptastic stamps that I have in my stash. This one is a date card themed stamp set. And you can no longer buy Scraptastic stamps because they don't make scrapbooking supplies anymore. They probably still make planner supplies, but I don't know if you can get this stamp anymore, so I don't know the name of it. But it has these lines and some boxes, and you can see it. It's right there in the top right hand corner of your screen there, and it has some months and days of the week and that sort of thing. So I am stamping some lines, but I need 5 lines, and there are 3 on the stamp. So I stamped the 3, and then I lined the stamp up so that I could add 2 more. Basically, I overlapped the stamp, but I didn't restamp the 3rd line. Just in case I had it lined up wrong, I didn't want it to look like it was double stamped there, so I just stamped the bottom 2. And that's going to give me room to put the word September. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm kind of playing off of the, I don't know if you guys ever, when you were playing hide and seek as a kid, one of the things that we used to do if we were cheating and you had to count to 100, we'd say 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. And then we'd go look for the people who clearly didn't have enough time to actually hide when you're counting like that. But anyhow, I'm kind of playing off of that. And I want my phrase here to say 1, 2, skip a few, and then we're in September. And then I'll put 2018 in brackets that were, in a different year even. And so I have only 1 comma on this set of letters. And I didn't like the 1, 2 with the numbers. I wanted to spell them out so it's more significant and takes up more space. And just from a design perspective, it looks better. So what I did was I cut out the negative space of the sticker, and I'm basically using it as a stencil to add the exact same shaped comma after the 2 that we already have after the 1. And I did have to extend the lines just to make it look the way I wanted it to look. So now I'm just using my own handwriting to write out skip a few. And I'm just going over it again because this marker doesn't make the darkest, it's pretty dark, but it doesn't make it quite as dark as I needed it to be to stand up to the boldness of the 1, 2 letter stickers. So then I'm writing, and then we're in, and then I'll stamp September. So 1, 2, skip a few, and then we're in September. And stamping that, sorry that it wasn't in Scream, but you saw the second one, and that's nice and dark because I double stamped it and used Versa Fine ink. And now I'm just going to use my own handwriting to put 2018 and put it in brackets, going over it twice to make it nice and dark. And that is on a piece of paper designed by Irite Landgraf. It came in a hip kit from several months ago. As you can see, I did that before. I skipped a big space earlier in my project life. And now, so this is October of 2017. And now here is the full sheet of that paper. It's just cut into 4x6 and 3x4 pockets and placed it in the pockets. And then in the bottom corner here, I have my little indicator that we're skipping some time. We're skipping forward a little bit. And now here are the pages that I just created. So these cards were always designed to be the first page, so I didn't change these around other than switching out the home is where you park it with the filler card that I didn't like so much. So that's the only change I made there. And then I decided these are all kind of like around the campground scenes. On the left-hand side there, and then the insert is also from around the campground. Now there is one photo there of Scott laying on our garage floor. I think it's pretty clear that that was once we got home, and the journaling says so as well, so I just left it like that. So here are the photos again, just so that you can see how it looks once it all came together and in the proper order. So there's the insert, and then the back side of the insert, and then the Upper Clements Park page, and then back to camping to close it all out. Thank you so much for watching this series of videos on my process for Project Life for my camping trip. I'm curious if anybody else scraps this way in terms of just having an event and sitting down and pocket paging the whole thing in one sitting and just getting her done. I'd love to hear your experience with that. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.